welcome to another Witch Doctors How-To. Today we're going to show you something that I've been getting a lot of comments about, a lot of questions on the forums. How to get the shock out of a cross country, a cross bike, Magnum, all those. Everybody says they get it loose, they get the lowering link out, all that, but they cannot get the shock out. It hits on the swing arm, and you're right, it does. We're going to show you how to do that. It's really easy. Don't get frustrated. We're going to show you how to do it so you can do it yourself. Okay, so what we're going to do, we got to get the shock bolt off first, this lower shock bolt. Now, previous videos I show how to take the lowering link and all this stuff off, so we already have that stuff off. I'm not going to get into all that. We're just going to show you how to get the shock out. So we already have this bolt loose, okay? So you're going to pull that out. Now, the problem is, when you try to lift this up, this part is going to hit. Now there's a couple things you can do. If you want to cheat, you can take a grinder and grind a little bit of this off under here. There's plenty of meat here. Now, is it going to be enough to get you in and out? Not really, okay? But you can do that to help. Just grind this down a little bit, and that will help you. But if you come up on top now, you'll see how you just can't get this out. It's like everything's loose. You know, if you look up in here, you can see the lowering link's off, all this stuff's off. What's going on? Why can't I get this thing out of here? The swing arm is down all the way. We have the bike jacked up, and the rear wheel, it's down as far as it'll go. You know, it's the swing arm's hitting. The swing arm can't go any lower right now. So this is all in here, okay? Now, here's the trick. This is where everybody gets all bent out of shape and starts screaming and hollering, okay? You see this little white box right here? This is called a tip-over switch. What this is if you crash, your bike falls over, this will shut off the fuel pump, okay? That's what this is for. There's a couple, I believe these are 7mm screws on here. So if you look back in here, you'll see these screws right here. There's two of them. Okay, and the other thing you want to make sure you notice is on top of this, you see how it says up on top of that switch? You want to make sure you put that back in with that up, obviously. If you don't, the bike will not start and it'll drive you crazy on what's the matter? Why won't my bike start? Don't ask me how I know that. So you're going to take these couple little nuts off. And be careful you don't drop them, because if you drop them down in there, they're hard to find. There's a nut, and there's also a washer, so don't forget that little washer. There's a little washer. And there's that valve, if you can't see it, how it says up. Make sure that's up. If you put this in like this, and it'll go in that way, it'll bolt in just the same, you're going to drive yourself crazy because you're not going to know why the bike won't start. So make sure you keep that right side. And then just tuck this out of the way. No big deal. Now, that will help you. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to reposition the light here so you can see, and we'll come right back. Okay, so what we're going to do, and this is something you don't have to do, but to make the video, to show you it, and to make your life a lot easier, I suggest doing this. On this side over here, you have the same kind of panel that we took off earlier on the other side. So I already took the bolts out here. Get this panel out of the way. You don't have to disconnect any wires, just loosen it up. And some of the bolts are going to be hard to see up in here. They're tucked under this wiring up in here, so they're going to be hard to see. So get that out of there. Now you can see the shock a lot better, and we can show you what we're doing. When we took off that tip-over valve, there's a bracket right here. Okay, I suggest loosening the bolts up to loosen this bracket up. Do you have to? No. You can get the shock out, and when you pull it up, it's going to be really hard and it's really tight to go across that bottom on that loop of that swing arm. But you can get it, and you probably have to tap it a little bit with like a punch or a screwdriver and tap it to get it to slide across there. It will work. Either way, it's going to be hard. So either way we do this, it's going to be hard. But just to kind of show you, this bracket is held on with a couple bolts in here, and I just have them finger tight just to show you here. These bolts here, they're 10 millimeter. So you want to take those bolts out, and you can see the bracket's starting to loosen up. Now what we'll do, we'll go around to the other side, and I'll show you over there what we're doing. So here's our tip over, and we have the same bolts here, okay? So like I said, we've already loosened these up. You can see the bracket dropping down, okay? You really can't get the bracket out of there, but if you notice, it was kind of about here. Now we can push this up, down, whichever. I kind of suggest getting it down and kind of push it towards the back. That'll give you another 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch of space to get that shock to come out. Now that takes you about an extra 10 minutes to do that. Again, you don't have to, but it does make it easier, and it's definitely easier so you can see what we're doing in here. Okay, so now the shock is there. If we look underneath here, I'll show you the hard part here. Let me grab that light so it's easier for you, because it's kind of a little bit hard to see. So let me get this light set up for you. Let's see if that helps to see what we're trying to do here.
That's better.
Okay, so this here is what's going to be hard. I think I said that in the beginning. Now, if you do have a grinder, a Dremel, grinder off a little bit of that. You only need to take off maybe a 1/16 of an inch down here. Your life is going to be so much easier if you just grind that just a tiny bit, okay? So you'll see what will happen. If you kind of, I don't know if you can see how you can see this. Look up in here. I'll try to keep my hands out of the way. But if you look down in here, let me readjust that light. This is really hard to try to show you guys what we're doing here, but I want to get it for you. Okay, if I hold that light, that's where you're going to look. Down in here is where that's going to hit. Okay, so I'll try to do it this way so I'm not in the camera. Okay, now you see, I don't know if you can see that. Right here, can you guys see that? That's where it's hitting. So if this bracket was in the way still, it would be a little bit harder to get this stuff out. So you don't have to do it. What I suggest, try it without loosening all this up. If you can get it out and it works fine, don't do this. I will tell you though, if you grind the bottom of that bracket, you won't have to loosen all this stuff up. So grinding is the key. But you want to get that there, and then just kind of slowly kind of work it. And I'm probably going to block you in the camera here to do this, but and it's a bitch, man, let me tell you. And then just pull it. I'm pushing on the bottom. I'm pushing this way on the bottom of that yoke down there, and I'm also pulling up here on the shock to get it to come this way, because it's tight. You may have to jiggle it a little bit. Now it's almost there. And watch your fingers. When you're pulling really hard and it snaps loose, don't get your fingers caught in there. You'll snap, you'll bash your fingers. Now it's like almost right there. I'm going to go to the other side and tap it. I just use like an extension and just tap that a little bit. There you go. You don't have to pound on it or anything, just tap it. And then you just kind of finagle that out of there. And there you go. There's your shock, okay? That's the culprit that causes all that trouble. So again, you can see I didn't do it on here, but just grinder, like if I could make a line here, you only need to take off about that much, and that thing will come right out of there. What I suggest, if you're reusing this shock, grind it now. Don't go through all this trouble of putting that back in. Going back in is kind of the same way. You want to put the bottom in first. Okay. Drop it down. Drop it down between that hole in the swing arm. Drop it down in there. Put the top back up in. And you can see it'll go right up in there. And then I'll show you what I did to pound it. I know people always freak out when you smack something with a hammer, but sometimes you have to. I'm not hitting it very hard at all. Try to get in there so you can see it. Just tap it very little and you'll see it go right in. Okay, goes right in. It just saves your fingers from getting in there, and frankly, you're not really strong enough to do that. So now it'll bolt right up. So that's basically all there is. I say basically, it is a pain in the ass job, but like I say, grind that, loosen this bracket if you have to. You will have no problems whatsoever doing that. I'm out of breath here because that's a lot of pounding, but you'll have no problems doing that. Grind that. So hopefully that shows you guys a little bit that it is a bitch of a job, but you can do it yourself and save some money. Thanks for watching.